Hello and welcome to the Live Life Goldyn Show. This is episode 38, Creating Healthy Boundaries and Speaking Your Truth. This is a topic that I need to talk to myself about. I'm talking to myself today, people. Boundaries is one of those things that I'm going to clarify for you as far as, do you have healthy boundaries? And how do you know what a healthy boundary is? You know, we grew up in this society and we grew up in a lot of the religious teachings that tell us that we should be in service, that life is all about in service. It's about giving, not taking. You know, when we're taking, we're being selfish. And what I found over my life experience is that an exchange of energy is very, very important. It's important for us to acknowledge who we are, our own worthiness, and that our feelings and who we are really matters. You know, that's coming from the wholeness of who you are and not the lack of what you're trying to get. You know, that lackful place inside of you where you're trying to get love and you're trying to do things for people so that they will love you. Whenever you're doing that, you're attracting from lack, and it's impossible to ever feel whole from that energy. So I'm going to help you to clear that up so that you can come to your relationships whole and healed, and you can be in a beautiful place to do what's right for you, which becomes right for the whole. And I'll explain more about that as we move forward. So, you know, I love to look up definitions. Boundaries show, this is the definition of boundaries in a relationship. Boundaries show where one thing ends and another begins. Boundaries help you define what you are comfortable with and how you would like to be treated by others. So it's all about you, right? Like I've shared that so many times. This is not a victim game. You're not a victim. You can rise above that victim mentality and come back into your wholeness and create really healthy boundaries in relationships. So in relationships, it says it's navigating the space between you and another. So it's navigating this healthy place between you and another where you're able to say yes when you want to say yes and say no when you want to say no. I was on Facebook the other day and this guy was asking, like, what do you say? What are your excuses if you don't want to get together with someone and you feel like they're going to be upset with you for not getting together with them? And I replied and I said, I don't have excuses anymore. Like, we're adults. I can't make it. Like, that's my reason. You know, for so many years I would go, okay, what am I going to say? And what's my reason? And what's my excuse? And it's like, we're just doing everyone a disservice when we do that. It's like, why don't we just tell the truth? Why don't we just say, I can't make it? Why do we have to come up with these excuses and lies and be inauthentic when we really just either we don't want to or we've got something else going on? And when we honor ourselves, we feel less inclined to have to give a reason or excuse. I just can't make it. You know, I'm an adult. I get to decide what I'm going to do with my time. And that's not going to work for me today. I say that. It's not going to work for me. Free yourself, people. Free yourself. Not allowing someone else's wounds to have power over your experience is a huge part of having boundaries. It's a huge part of deciding, like, if that person has issues and they need to make me feel guilty for not getting together with them, or they need to make me feel, you know, to try to make me feel guilty. You don't have to feel guilty. If they do that, if they use guilt, if they use and try to use their power over me, then I give into that. I'm actually in a powerless state, and I'm actually conducting from lack and wounds as well. So if we don't give into the guilt game, you know, and we just let it go and say, I'm doing what's best for me, and that's what I need to do right now, and really being solid in that moving forward, then you're going to see people are going to be less inclined to try to do that to you. Yeah, they'll give up after a little while, because that's kind of a bullying game, the guilt thing. It's trying to get people to do things through manipulation and through manipulative feelings. So when we don't play, you know, when we just check out and we're like, we're not playing this game with you, people, they don't do it anymore, because it's a law of attraction thing. It's a universal law thing. So if we refuse to feel guilty, they can't reflect that guilt to us any longer. So we're dropping the guilt game. How do you drop the guilt game? You interrupt the thoughts. You don't allow yourself to go into that bad neighborhood of guilt where you start beating yourself up for doing what's right for you. We haven't been taught this. We've been taught to be selfless. We've been taught to do for others. We've been taught to share. Give your toy to somebody else because you don't matter. That's those underlying messages that we have taken on for a long, long time, that it's time to change if we want to be in healthy relationships and create healthy boundaries. Now, for me, it's challenging because of the work that I do. I'm often looking at messages and really looking at my own boundaries because I love to help people. And oftentimes when we come from this, like wanting to help people all the time and wanting to rescue people all the time, we're actually disempowering them. We're not really doing anybody a favor. There was Elizabeth Gilbert. She was the one who wrote, what did she write? I know she wrote The Magic of Thinking Big, and she also did that movie with Julia Roberts. But she was, what I learned from her in one of her books was, don't write a book or don't start a business to help people. Just do it because you have a message to share. Do it because you feel passionate about what you're teaching. But don't ever do it to help people. Because if you're doing that, I just want to help stuff, you're disempowering people. We want to lift people up. We want to uplift them into their power. And we don't want to set up belief systems that say, you need me in order to do better. We want people to awaken that within themselves, right? Like that's what this thing is all about, this podcast for me. It's not about me sharing the fact that I think that I know better than people. I've been through a lot of life experience and I've worked in universal law so much that I understand the intricacies of it. And I want to share that so that I can awaken that in you, not so that I can tell you what to do, just so I can give you a frame and a higher perspective that can serve you in really coming from your most powerful position. So ignoring your own well-being for another is definitely a wonderful way to create really wonky boundary lines. So when we do that, and as parents, it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do because we become so attached to our children and we become so attached to their journeys. Like our whole lives, we've been trying to make sure that they're safe. Right? We've been trying to keep them safe. We've been trying to keep them healthy. We've been trying to keep them going to school. We're trying to get them to get smart. We're trying to do all this stuff for them. And as they get older, we're so attached, we've got to learn how to detach. And that's why many times your child at, 15, 16, 18, 19 will create issues with you because they're trying to detach and they're trying to create their own boundaries so that they can become independent adults. So I've seen it in every one of my kids. So it's really part of the phase of growing up and breaking away from the parents. If you've got a relationship with your child and you're super codependent on each other, I would really take a look at that and I would start asking yourself how you can back up and give them space. Because if you are always trying to solve other people's problems, guilty, and always trying to rescue people, guilty. If you are, it's really challenging to have a life of joy. It really is because you're so entangled and you're so wrapped up in other people's journeys. You can't control what they do. You can't control what they think, and you can't control what they manifest. So by just backing away from it, you're actually going to empower them to start working and solving their own issues so that you're not that person all the time, because you don't want to be that person all the time. Right? You got to create the space to create the healthy boundaries so that they can become the awesome manifestors that they are. So this is how you know if you've got unhealthy boundaries. Here's a couple of things that may be going on in your life that will tell you if your boundaries need some cleaning up. So one is resentment. If you have resentment, most likely your boundaries are messed up because resentment always comes, and resentment actually is of self. It can very much be of self. I know it probably feels like it's towards the other person, but the truth is if you really dug down deep, you would see that you're really mad at yourself for always saying yes to this person, or for putting yourself out for this person, or for having a very unhealthy exchange of energy. So if you really dig down, that resentment is really towards self. And we don't want that. That doesn't lead to self-love. That leads to more self-critical natures. That leads to more listening to the shitty committee. So you've really got to back away from the resentment and start drilling down and asking yourself, why am I always saying yes when I want to say no? And then start saying no, or saying, I'll think about it, and then really going within and working from that inner guidance. Asking your inner guidance, is this really good for me? Is this something that's really going to serve both of us in our relationship? Because if you're always serving that person and you're in resentment, you're not doing the relationship any good. The relationship is crap anyways. So you might as well start cleaning it up and doing what's right for you so that the relationship can get whole and healed, or fall off if it needs to, because sometimes that's what happens. If you feel really burned out, so this is when your nerves feel frayed, when you just feel stressed, when you feel like overwhelmed, and you feel like, I can't do enough for this person. Yeah, I'll have people like that in your life. I just can't do enough for this person. They're always asking more of me. I'm always overextending myself. That burnout is telling you that you have unhealthy boundaries. Feeling taken advantage of, yeah, that's all you, baby. That's all you. Because if you're feeling taken advantage of, it means that you are not listening to that inner guidance and putting some boundaries in place to allow this person to live their life from their own well-being, allowing them to manifest accordingly, allowing them to step into their own empowerment instead of relying on you all the time. Bondage, that's when you feel like you have no choice. You're taking care of somebody and you feel like you have no choice. And there is always a choice. There is always the ability to manifest something else. There is always your ability to say no. It's always there. You just have put it upon yourself to put these limitations in your experience and set up a belief system that makes you believe you have no choice. There is always choices. Always. The universe is always offering us different opportunities and pathways and energy, but we have to dial into them, right? We've got to tune into those frequencies, because if we're tuned into the frequencies about always having to give, then we're always going to be giving. So we've got to tune out of those frequencies, and we've got to start honoring that inner guidance and saying no when we want to say no. Powerlessness, this all leads to powerlessness. Oftentimes it comes from powerlessness. So usually it's, those childhood wounds that told you that you couldn't do what you wanted to do, or that you weren't a powerful being. That unworthiness energy of when we were growing up, then we always did things to please our parents, to please the adults, to try to make people like us, all that stuff. You feel like you're unworthy to speak your truth. Many, many, many of us don't feel like our voice matters. We don't have a history of seeing that our voice matters. And because of that, we oftentimes can shut our voice down and not even acknowledge that we have an opinion, or not even acknowledge that we've got wisdom. We've got wisdom to offer. We've got things to say, right? If you live in a family where there's like this giant elephant in the room, or if you're constantly sweeping things under the rug, I'm going to encourage you to really take a look at that. I grew up in a family where a lot of that stuff was taking place. And, oftentimes it was like, just everybody pretend everything is okay. Like, let's just be at peace. I remember one day we were at Disneyland, Disney World in Florida, and it was like a holiday that we had all saved up like 5 years for. And it was during like the Y2K New Year's Eve, and we were spending Christmas in Disney World, and everybody was fighting. And I was the peacekeeper in the family. I'm just going to call it what it is. And I remember just being like, enough, like, we're not doing this here. We're in the happiest place on earth on Christmas Day. No one's fighting. We've been waiting for this vacation forever. What are we doing? Right? So being that peacekeeper all the time and trying to make everything okay was a really exhausting place to be. It was. And it came to the point where, I'm going to get a little personal today. I don't usually share my personal stuff, the real deep personal stuff, but I think it lends to this conversation with boundaries I didn't have boundaries with my family. I often did things that I wanted to say no to. I often pushed my own integrity, my personal integrity aside, and did things that I did not enjoy and that I did not want to do. And it got to the point where I was literally every day just feeling so like my nerves were frayed. And I remember like breaking a coffee cup in my kitchen and going, I can't do this anymore. I can't be this person that pretends like everything is okay. So I ended up writing my family a letter and telling them how I felt and just poured my heart out, and it wasn't received. It wasn't received in the light that I had hoped that it would be received under. It wasn't received in the way that I felt like our family could heal and that we could talk about truth and we could be authentic in who we were. And it just wasn't received. So that led to, a lot of relationships that needed to end for me, and doing what felt right for me and not living this life of guilt and feeling like I needed to be in these relationships that were no longer serving me or my family. So it's hard. It's really hard. If you're facing that kind of situation, I would say communicate as much as you possibly can. Work on opening the lines of communication. I think if I had it to do over again, I probably would have done it a little bit differently. But at that time, right, everything is destiny. That's my belief. It's just the way that it had to happen. So no regrets, no regrets. I did what I did when I needed to do it, and it led to the way my life is now. And that's fine. And I love people and I forgive people. And that's that. That's that. But I'm no longer going to be in relationships where my boundaries are so trampled over that I can't speak my truth, that I can't be my authentic self. And I've had many relationships end, many friendships end because I did that, because I let my boundaries get so out of control that it just needed to end for me. It was deal breakers, right? The deal breakers. So communication is probably one of the biggest things if you want to create some sort of boundary with someone that you've never had boundaries before with. And it's honoring yourself. It's going within and really asking that inner guidance. Is this right for me? Is this something that I really want to continue in my life, or do I want to really clean it up? Because these are the things that having no boundaries can lead to. Rage, baby, pent up rage. If you've been pushing emotions down, if you've been pushing your feelings down, if you haven't been sharing the way you really feel, you will have rage and anger underneath. Many times you'll have jaw pain because we hold, anger in our jaw. We hold resentments in our jaw. You'll be grinding your teeth at night. You'll be snapping at people. The rage is going to come out. It's going to come out, and it often does not come out the way we want it to. Oftentimes it comes out in like an explosion. So that's why communication is so necessary, so that instead of waiting till it builds up so much that we explode, we actually deal with our shit like right then and there. Tell people what we need, allow ourselves to heal through our communication, and create a life of joy instead of this underlying resentment and rage. It totally steals your joy. So when you've got unspoken words, when you've got, your throat chakra is so blocked up. I'll talk about chakras in a little bit, but when your throat is so blocked up and you can't speak your truth and you can't really share how you feel with people, this isn't about like, sharing every grievance we have with people or telling people what we don't like about them. This is about telling people what we need, about what we need to be in a healthy relationship with them and a healthy relationship with ourselves, and letting the chips fall where they may. I remember I was reading this book when this whole thing went down with my family, and this was a long, long time ago, like probably 13, 14 years. I don't even know. I keep losing track. But I was reading this book by Lame Surya Das, and I don't remember the name of the book, but I remember the guy who wrote it. And he said, you need to share the way you feel with people and let the chips fall where they may. If it ends the relationship, it was meant to end the relationship. But by holding this all together, You're not allowing for the grace and the communication and the love and the peace that could be your life. So I remember that I felt like I couldn't go on anymore the way that I was, and I had to make that decision to do what I did. So, if you're going to be in this life, why live that way? It's not worth it. Allowing your nerves to be frayed, allowing yourself to be stressed out, thinking about things that you want to say and never saying them just steals your joy. It absolutely steals your joy. It really messes with your manifestational abilities, because manifesting abundance, wealth, all the stuff that you want to create is in a high vibration. Even that loving relationship, if you're single and you're looking for that loving relationship, if you're holding on to resentments because of the divorce you had 15 years ago, how in the world are you going to attract someone? You're not creating from the energy of love. You're creating from that vibration underneath, which is resentment and anger. So that's why you can't find somebody, because you're not even putting out the signal. You're not on the radio station of love and joy and fun, right? Who's going to sign up for that? I mean, a lot of people do, but it's no fun. It's absolutely no fun. You don't want to attract the same partner that you had before either. So that's why you really need to get in there and heal and really create something new by the way you treat yourself. Loss of your own inner guidance. So oftentimes when our boundaries are messed up, we're only listening to what the other person needs. So we lose our connection with our inner guidance, and we don't even really know what's right for us. And we don't really even honor the fact that we have a relationship with ourselves, that we have a relationship where valuing and loving ourselves should be the most important thing. Because when we do that and we come to the relationship whole and healed, that person has a lot less power over us, and we're going to be a lot less susceptible to things like jealousy or insecurity or fear they're going to leave or feeling unlovable. All of that stuff will take care of itself when we come to that relationship whole and healed in knowing who we truly are. So that's an inner game, right? That's the meditation. That's going within. That's dealing with your crap. That's not allowing yourself to be in these resentful states that do not attract anything remotely of what you really want. It usually comes from a wound or trying to get love from a feeling of lack of love. So oftentimes that's why we will push our boundaries aside, because we're trying to get love in all the wrong places. We're trying to get love from people. We're trying to get liked from people. We're trying to be accepted by people because we've got this lackful feeling inside of ourselves, because we don't feel lovable, because we've got these wounds that we need to heal, because we've had, traumas. We've had traumas where people have either treated us like we're unlovable or told us we were unlovable or did terrible things to us to make us think that we're unlovable. And all of that stuff is that invitation and opportunity to go within and heal, to ask ourselves, like, where is my stuff in this? Can I come to this relationship whole and healed, so I'm not putting my jealousies and insecurities and issues on this person and expecting them to fill me up, expecting them to make me feel loved when I don't feel it inside. It's like a mirage. It's like you're trying to fill up a bottomless pit, right? So you'll know it. Like when you start really healing and you become whole, you're going to have a lot less issues being alone, and you're going to be okay with being alone. And then because you're whole and healed, you're going to manifest that person who reflects that to you, and your relationship is going to be beautiful. There's not going to be a lot of wounds or triggers to work on. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about empathy, because empathy came up in this conversation because I've seen a lot of people do this, and I've seen a lot of people kind of go into victimhood because they'll say, well, I'm an empath, so I feel people's feelings like so much that I have to do these things for them that I don't really want to do because I hurt so much for them. Like I feel so much for them. The part that I don't love about that, first of all, it's like self-preservation. Like, where's your self-preservation? Where is your ability to put yourself in your own importance? Like, where Where did you sign up for the belief system that you need to feel other people's energy and not have the ability to protect yourself from it? Listen, I'm in people's energy fields all the time. Sometimes it affects me, yes. Like sometimes I have issues with that for sure, but I've learned how to protect myself. I've learned how to call in divine energy and angelic energy and create a bubble around myself. I've learned how to do that. And I've learned how to not take people's energy on so much that it sucks the joy out of my life. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to do the work that I do. And I've had to step away from this work from time to time when I do start to fall into that. And I've had to get better at grounding myself and protecting myself from other people's energies, because you do not have the ability to feel what other people feel. That's a farce. It's a total farce. I'm calling bullshit on that whole thing. You don't have the ability to feel what they feel because you're not in their body. You haven't had their life experiences. You don't have the grace of God coming down and supporting you and loving you in that situation. So you have no idea how they feel. I think one of the biggest disservices that we do as human beings is thinking that we actually know what people are going through. We have no idea. We have no idea. Same thing, or thinking that we know better than people, that we know better than our kids. We've got, guidance for our children that they don't have. They have their own inner guidance, and activating that is an important part of them becoming whole, healed, awesome adults, that can stand on their own 2 feet. Listen to my parenting podcast. That was really awesome. It was one of the episodes not too long ago. Super helpful as far as, creating these relationships with your kids and activating their own inner guidance. We don't know better than them. We don't know better than other people. I remember a long time ago, I was talking to someone and I was really affected by the Sandy Hook tragedy. Actually, I grew up in Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook was my school. This is when the little elementary school kids were killed by that boy. And I remember being so distraught about the whole thing. And the guy that I was talking to, he was like a healer. And he said to me, he's like, you have no idea what these parents are going through. You try to put yourself in their shoes and you do them a great disservice by doing that. They have graces that you don't have because you're not walking through their tragedy. You're not in that grace of God. You're not in that pathway with them. So by trying to imagine what they're going through, it really does everyone a disservice. It really does. The best thing you can do is love and appreciate your life, is to live your life to the fullest, to love your family to the fullest, and to move forward and not allow this to push you down, but instead allow it to lift you up and to live your life from a higher vibration and not a lower vibration by trying to be empathic. It just doesn't, empathy does not serve. It really doesn't. When we feel sorry for people, it is disempowering, because when we feel sorry for people, we're not allowing them to exhibit their power. We're not allowing them to awaken to their power. We're holding them down. We're saying we're better than you. I feel sorry for you because you're going through this and I'm not. It's a disservice. It's a social programming and a total disservice. We cannot feel sad enough to make someone else happy. We can't get poor enough to make someone else rich. We can't get sick enough to make someone else well. We have to take care of ourselves. We've really got to move into this place where we start taking care of ourselves. We start really listening within for our inner guidance, and we start moving from there. That's going to help us to move into higher consciousness. It's going to help us to move into a higher vibration of living, and it's going to help us to show other people the way and to uplift people instead of disempowering them, trying to fix their problems or rescue them from the shit that they're working on, the stuff that they need to process and progress and manifest with to show themselves. When we were going through all of our our financial struggles, we were around a lot of wealthy people, like seriously wealthy people and, independently wealthy people. And I remember talking to this one gentleman. He was like the CEO of our company, and we were spending time with him. And I remember him telling us, I was like, we're just struggling, and I'm talking about our financial struggles. And he was just like, yep. And I was just like, why doesn't he help us? I thought about this often with people that were around us, and like, Why don't they help us? Like, why don't they give us money? And I get it now. I totally get it. Because when you give people money, they don't, first of all, they don't totally value it, right? They don't really see that they've got manifestational powers. It doesn't really totally up-level their faith, although my faith has definitely been up-leveled from people helping me. But it's not an empowering thing to do. It really is not. It's a wonderful thing to give. I love giving. I value that. But the exchange of energy, if you're always giving and people are always taking, that exchange is going to mess with your boundaries. And it's not going to make you feel, it's going to make you feel taken advantage of, especially if it's somebody you've been doing it with for a while. So, how to create stronger boundaries in your life cycles, in your life stories. Look at your cycles. Look at the cycles. Look at the relationships. Look at the things that you've been living over and over again. And look at how you feel about them. Look at how you feel about each relationship and ask yourself, am I giving too much? Have I been giving too much? Do I feel burned out? Do I feel like I've been giving too much? Because if you do feel that way, you most likely are, right? Recognize when you are putting your well-being aside. So you've got to start asking yourself, you got to start honoring that beautiful soul that you are. You've got to start honoring your gifts. You've got to start honoring what you need in this world in order to be whole and healed and to come to a place. When I help people now, it's from a very different place. It's not that I feel like people need me or I feel like, I have all the answers. I come in service to people and give value to people because I feel passionate about something that I know is very empowering. I know the messages that I share are very empowering because I live them. And by sharing these messages from a place of, giving from my value, from my passion, from my love, it's different than me sitting on a show and saying, you need to do this and you're not good at this and we need to get you better at this. It's just a different energy field. And because of that, I feel like I've created a lot of abundance with it and I've created a lot of fulfillment. And it's answering the call of a dream of mine to share information that has completely transferred my whole life. It's transpired so much. Like it's put me on a trajectory of a lot of joy. And I want to share that. I want to share that because I know you have it in yourself. I know you have it in yourself. Okay, so getting in tune with how things are manifesting in your feelings. So really get in tune with that feeling, with the pain bodies. Are you being triggered a lot? Are you walking around seething? Are you in quiet desperation? Are you feeling the rage? Is it building? I work with clients a lot, and one of the things that sometimes happens, when you start meditating and you start poking around in there and you start asking the right questions, sometimes some rage comes up, sometimes some emotions happen, but always when you come from that place of doing it from healing, doing it from allowing it to move through you, you're going to get a lot of progress is going to happen. And it's years and years and years of shit you've been pushing down. So it really lends to that healing process. And it allows you to get this stuff out of your body so it doesn't manifest as disease, so it doesn't manifest as crappy relationships, so you don't sit there pouting all the time, so you don't take we've all met people like this, like everything that happens, they're just triggered about it, right? We've met people, especially now, they're just triggered. Like they live in a triggered state. Or you've met people who, have gone through a divorce 20 years ago and they're still carrying it around with them like it happened yesterday. And that just does not lend to a joyful experience. And it doesn't really lend to you being a person that people really feel good being around. We got to heal this stuff. We really do. Decide what you want in your relationships and write it down. Write it down, people. Writing is the strongest form of focus. So if you want a whole, healed, beautiful relationship with your child, you've got to start communicating with them in a different way, where you're not being the dictator, where you're not telling them what to do, where you're not telling them that you know better, but you're listening more. You're opening the lines of communication by listening and honoring their feelings. I sometimes do this with my kids. I don't always honor their feelings. And instead I jump right on my horse of advice, because that's what I do with people. I work on giving higher perspective. Well, sometimes my kids don't want the higher perspective. Sometimes they just want to be in their crap. Sometimes people in our life just need us to go, that sucks for you. Sometimes they just want a listening ear. They don't want you to fix everything. They just want you to listen, and they want you to have a little compassion for their story and a little faith in them. Faith in a person goes a long way, instead of trying to tell them how they should feel or what they should have done differently. Guilty is charged. Releasing guilt, boundaries and guilt can become really entangled, because this was a way that we were actually, we conducted from a long time, like our religions and our parents and our grandparents. We often did things because we didn't want to feel guilty. Like if we did it because we felt like we should do it, then we wouldn't feel guilty. And we're trying to avoid guilt, right? Like our whole life, we're trying to avoid just feeling guilty. We're going to do and we're going to overdo, and we're not going to listen to our internal guidance. We're going to do what other people need us to do so we don't feel guilty. So then we end up with a boat full, or a backpack full of resentment. Yeah, you're trading one for the other. It doesn't lend for joy, and it lends for a lot of manipulation in your life, It's no good. Guilt is like one of the lowest emotions on the vibrational scale. If you look, it's like guilt is like right above depression, and it doesn't do anything. It's like when you feel guilty, the other person is just going to keep taking. And so it's just this really uneven exchange thing, and it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve them. It doesn't serve your relationships, and it doesn't serve any type of joy. So get rid of the guilt. And how do you get rid of the guilt? You go within, you deal with it, you write about it, you journal about it. You say, why do I feel this way? Where does this come from? Is this my belief? Do I need to believe this? Do I need to feel guilty? Why am I addicted to feeling guilty? You start asking these questions, you're going to get answers. That's the beautiful thing about going within and asking. We will get answers. Going overboard to rescue and try to solve other people's problems is very disempowering. It's absolutely exhausting. Yeah, guilty once again, exhausting. And it doesn't lend to the universal partnership that they have to come in and help them. It's like we're trying to just push everything into place. We're trying to manipulate energy to rescue people so that we don't have to feel bad about them, or we get to solve everybody's problems and get to be the hero, right? Yeah, we don't want drama. I'm like, I don't want drama at this point in my life. So if there's anything that I can do to avoid drama, I will work to do that. And it doesn't really serve people, because people have their dramas. I don't need to be a part of that drama, do I? I don't. I really don't. And the way that I cannot be a part of people's drama, especially those that are very close to me, is to decide. I'm one decision away from not listening to that, from not sitting there and talking about it and trying to figure it out and allowing my mind to keep me safe and the same by keeping me stuck in this little story that I need to help and I need to rescue. I need to back up. I need to give it some space. I need to detach from other people's crap, because it's not my crap. I think this was the biggest realization I had yesterday with some family stuff. And I always ask myself this, like, where is my stuff in this? And what am I doing to contribute to this thing in my life? And I realized all I'm doing is just giving it attention. And I'm allowing it to take up my mental space. I'm allowing it to pull me out of the joy I could be in just being here now, right? I'm thinking about the past. I'm thinking about, what can I do about the future? How can I fix this? And it does not, I gotta give it some space, because that manifestational partnership, that co-creative partnership is coming in, and I'm in the freaking way. You're in the way of other people's journeys if you're overstepping and if you don't have those healthy boundaries. So it doesn't help them manifest, and it actually disempowers. So then the next time something happens, they're going to immediately come to you and expect you to solve their problems, right? This is what happens when we rescue. This is what happens when we throw money at situations. this is what happens. We disempower, and then that person doesn't have the ability to do it on their own. They're always looking for the rescue. Distracts you from your own joy and your own journey. Why are we doing that? Why are we doing anything that's taking us away from our own joy? That's just silly. That's just silly. So ask yourself, like, when you're working through these relationships, like, is this mine? Is this mine to take? Is this mine to hold? Is this mine to worry about? Stop worrying about shit. Seriously, because every single person on this earth has their own journey. They have their own destiny. And you getting in there and meddling and trying to fix things and give advice and all of that stuff is just getting you entangled in a drama that you don't need to be a part of. And it doesn't mean we don't care. I think this is the part that a lot of people struggle with, and me as a mother definitely struggles with, because I never, ever want my kids to think that I don't care. I think the trick with that, you're going to love me saying this, is not to feel that. It's not to feel that. If you don't feel that, if you don't feel guilty, if you don't feel like, oh, I want them to think that I care, of course you care. Why would you think that? Right? Like, that's another programming that we've got running underneath. Oh, if I don't give them advice, if I don't call them, if I don't check in with them, they're going to think I don't care. If they think you don't care, then a lot of times that will block you from actually connecting with them. If somebody thinks you don't care, and that's about them, right? That's about their own healing journey. So it's not about that, because of course you care about your children. Of course I care about my children. Of course my children know that I care. But when I come at them with advice that's not helpful, that they're not ready to receive, it can often do more harm than good. So I'm working on it. I'm human, people. I'm human. Yep, I'm human. And sometimes I know too much for my own good. Are you one of those people, you know too much for your own good? It's like, ugh, if everybody could just like understand, if they could just pick up what I'm laying down, right? Then it would all be better. But people are not everyone is in the mode of receiving. We say that all the time. Like, it's not a teaching moment when there's like a lot of high emotions, high intense emotions. It's not a teaching moment. It's not time for you to put your shit on people. It's not time to try to give them a higher perspective, because they're too much in the thick of the problem. They're too highly emotional at that point to receive anything that's of a higher perspective. So you just got to give it some space, and you got to listen. You got to listen. And yes, I am talking to myself right now. Self, are you listening? Okay, so practice saying that's none of my business. That's none of your business. Yeah, I do say that from time to time. I recently had an issue with one of my children, and my other child said to me, Mom, it's none of your business. And I thought, oh shit, she's right. It's none of my business. And my husband says it to me often too, because I'm the mom and I want to fix. And it's like what I do for a living. So it's really hard to step out of that mode when somebody's not asking me. If people aren't asking for your advice and you're giving it, that's another overreach. That's another way that you're overreaching and creating unhealthy boundaries. Trust in their process and power to manifest, and recognize that everyone is on their own journey, that they have a journey of process, they have a journey of progress, and it's not necessarily hinging on anything you do. In fact, it can often hinge on you not being entangled in it or getting in the way of that co-creative partnership, right? Stepping to the side, letting the magic, letting the manifestations work, letting the energy start coming in, right? Remember, little quantum physics here. When we have a thought and we have a belief and it starts to come out, this is the same thing for our children, for all the people we love, for all the people we're creating healthy boundaries with. That energy comes out in waves. And after a little time, it takes a little time. Once you have the feelings for a little while, because the feeling is the manifestation, it starts to break down, becomes particles, and becomes matter. But the time between you feeling it, desiring it, and the physical manifestation, there's a little time there where everybody just needs to back up the bus. Everybody needs to just hold on a second, right? We don't have to rush in there and try to save people, because people have their own ability to manifest. Release your tendency to try to fix and control everything. Yeah. Are you one of those people? My husband and I are both very guilty of this. In fact, we call him the fix-it man because he's always about fixing. And I recently said to him, like, you don't have to do that. Like, by you doing that all the time and putting yourself out for other people, you're not allowing their stuff to manifest. You're getting yourself all entangled. And again, you're getting in the way of that co-creative partnership. So just back up. If it's not right for you, it's not right, because you're the one who's going to get burned. And he has gotten burned so many times doing that, as have I, putting ourselves out, that overreach and that unhealthy boundary of our relationships. Protecting your field, ingesting what's good. So in that protecting of your field and ingesting what's good, it's looking at your relationships and it's looking at what you're doing in your life and saying, do I love me? By saying yes to this person, am I saying I love me, or am I saying I'm just going to put my needs to the side right now? I'm going to put what I want to the side and I'm going to do what's best for them. Yeah, because if you're doing that a lot, you're definitely going to empty yourself out, and you're going to get into all those things that I listed before, the resentment and the burnout and all that stuff that doesn't serve you. So that detachment, not playing God or trying to save people. Yeah, that's detachment, because you're not God and you can't save people. And you especially can't save people that are not willing to save themselves. Oh, guilty of that one too. You know, if you've got people in your life and they're doing all of this like sabotagey shit, or they're in addictions, or, you know, they're just living their dramas over and over again, you can't rescue them. You can't be in control of everything for them, because they have their own journeys. They have their own conduction of energy. They've got their own beliefs. They've got their own feelings. They've got their own decision making. They're making decisions for themselves. They're not regarding you probably whatsoever. Like, because people are narcissistic. People don't think about you as much as you wish they did. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. So clearing that throat chakra, I talked about chakras a little bit in my past shows, but you know, we've got this system of chakras. There's 7 that I deal with. And the root is all about, you know, your universal support. So that's at the bottom of your spine. Above that is your sacral chakra. That's your emotional field, your creative energies, and your sexual feminine energies are in there. That nurturing energy. Above that is your solar plexus, which is in your abdomen. That's your power center. That's your self-confidence, your self-esteem. It's also where a lot of your inner guidance comes from. And that's why you can feel like you've been punched in the gut, because that energy is activated there. Your heart, of course, is the love, your compassion, your self-love, your forgiveness, your truth. Your throat chakra, that's where, you know, you speak your truth. And if the throat and the heart, or if there's any energy blocking in here, you won't be able to speak from your heart. You'll be in a lot of angst and a lot of drama and a lot of blaming. So having your throat chakra cleared, I'm going to do a little exercise. So stay tuned to the end. I'll do a little exercise to clear out the throat chakra. When you can really speak your truth and really stand in speaking from what is really good for you and asking people for what you need, you're going to be feeling a lot healthier. You're going to be feeling a lot wholer and a lot healthier. Start using, okay, so you're speaking your truth and no longer hiding your feelings or hindering your feelings or ignoring your feelings. You have the ability to move through life differently. So I would say start with the small things. This is what I do. So this has been pretty recent, and you could blame it on my age. I don't know. I'm like 49. And I remember my mom doing stuff in around this age. And I was like, oh man, like she is just out there with, you know, just saying what she thinks. And now I'm doing that. So I don't know if it has something to do with age, or it's just an awakening, or I feel, you know, really healed inside. And I feel like I have the ability to tell people what I need from a whole and healed place. So it's not like yelling at people or getting pissed off at people. It's like, if I say what I need right now, then I'm good. I'm clean. I've already laid all my cards on the table. I'm not hiding anything from anybody anymore. you think you're doing yourself a favor by not, the biggest thing that people do is they try to avoid conflict. That was number one in my family, was trying to avoid conflict until people started drinking, and then it was all conflict, right? You start drinking, they say truth, there's wine and truth or something, or truth and wine. As soon as you start drinking, those real feelings start coming out, like yikes. So that's, where the family dramas come in. You're so much better off just saying how you feel, just sharing with people what you need. You may need to start out by writing letters. I used to write letters to my husband all the time because I was like a little girl inside. My throat chakra was totally blocked and I couldn't say what I needed to say. So you might need to start out with letters, and you might need to burn those letters and not even give them to the person, but just being able to get this stuff out of your body is so healthy. So do it in the little things. Do it when you're getting your hair blow dried. Like, one of the things that I've had like over time is I've just like, every hairdresser has not blow dried my hair right. So I speak up. Oh yeah, I like it like this. I like fullness here. And now it's like, for the first time, I'm getting like the hairdo that I want, and I'm not coming home and having to re-blow dry my hair. Anybody had to do that? When they screw up your coffee, go back. Tell them they screwed up your coffee. If you don't tell them they screwed up your coffee, they're probably going to screw up the next person's coffee, and that person might be really angry and they might start yelling at them. So you're doing them a favor by telling them, hey, this tastes like shit. Maybe there's something wrong with your machine, and just letting them know. So do it in the little things, do it in the things like when you think about something, if you can say it in a way that's not like, going to create a lot of conflict, you can say it from like just your truth and allowing yourself to be like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry, but I need to let you know that this coffee is not good. And I need another cup of coffee because I need my coffee. Like if you just do it from a place of not being wounded, it's going to come across and be received a lot differently. Unspoken words always become anger and resentment. You can hide it for as long as you want. Eventually, it could come across as a 9-page letter that ends the relationship with the person you love. So really do that. So we're not complaining. We're not blaming others. We're just honoring how we feel, and we're sharing how we feel from our feelings. It's not you did this to me. That's victimhood. It's this is the way I feel when this happens. And I need to work on this, and I need to communicate it to you so we can have a healthy relationship and we can create from something that works for both of us. Speaking words through love and compassion, that's connecting that heart and that throat. We're going to do a little bit of that today. Asking for what you need is worthiness of yourself. It's loving yourself. It's trusting that what you need is important. It's coming from wholeness, not from woundedness. Listening to your feelings, allowing yourself to connect with the healing and the inner guidance that you're being called to. And yes, sometimes this stuff gets really intense when it comes up, but it's just working through it, letting yourself cry, letting yourself say what needs to be said. Serving through love and not through lack. That's a huge part of healthy boundaries. Serving through love. I'm doing this because I love it. I'm doing this because I love you, not because I want your love. It's because I love you. It's a different energy. I'm not doing it to fill myself up. I'm doing it because I'm already full and I'm overflowing and I want to share it. Healing our wounds, no longer suffering in silence. Releasing and cleansing and clearing these emotions that get in the way of what we do not want. So, sometimes we've got these addictions to emotions, like addictions to guilt or addictions to resentment. We don't even know who we are without them. So we've got to start going within and really getting to know ourselves from the love of who we are and not the anger. When we acknowledge and deal what's underneath, we improve our point of attraction. This is probably the biggest message that I want to get across today, is when you have emotions underneath, you are creating from them. So you think you're not dealing with them. You think that you can ignore them. You think they're going to go away, but they just fester and they get bigger, and it's actually your point of attraction. And this is why you have cycles. This is why you end up with the same kind of crappy people that trash your boundaries and don't allow you to be the whole, healed, beautiful person that you truly are. So it's that journey of going in within, healing, releasing, and then deciding, what do I want? And your point of attraction is always how you respond. That will always tell you where you're at inside. If you stop being such a reactor and you start creating space and you start coming from a response of what you want to feel, about what you want to create, because everything is created from right now. So some shit happens to you. If you don't react and you sit back and you ask yourself, what do I really want from this situation? You're going to be able to create it from a powerful position and not a lackful position. Speaking your truth will set you free on your own terms. You will not have these rages. You will not have these fits, these temper tantrums. You will be able to say how you really feel without a lot of anger because you're dealing and communicating as things come up. It's a wonderful way to live. Get out of victimhood. Take responsibility for your own shit. Please take responsibility for your own actions and for the way that you contribute in your relationships that cause them to go awry or to become something amazing. Yeah, the good and the bad. Take responsibility for all of it. The ways you have allowed others to take advantage of you is something you really need to take stock in, because if you really care about the way you feel, if you really feel worthy, if you really love yourself, you won't do that anymore. You won't. You will come from this whole and healed place. And when you do, because I'm still guilty of it for sure, you catch it a little bit sooner. And then you start to make decisions around it that don't create a big mess. Trust in your ability to manifest the life that you have, that you are worthy of, from your wholeness, from your healedness, from who you truly are inside. So, clearing out the chakras is something that I do with my groups. It's something I've been doing for years. It came to me when I moved to California. Before I moved to California, I was doing a lot of speaking engagements in Connecticut. I was working with network marketing companies. I was doing a lot of networking events, free events, speaking, got paid to speak, the whole thing. And then when I moved to California, I didn't have those opportunities. So I started doing coaching just from the phone, just over the phone, across the country, whatever. And I had some beautiful, wonderful people that opened up and trusted me, and we started doing meditation. And then this knowledge of the chakras, and I could feel energy in my body for people, and I could move energy, came to me. And so I've been doing that for the last, 6 years. And it's super effective. It really is, because when we've got traumas that get stuck inside of our bodies, energy gets stuck in our bodies, and we don't clear it out, we oftentimes create from it. And that's why you have cycles. So we're going to do a little exercise today on our chakras, our throat chakra, and do a little heart throat chakra stuff so you can release and cleanse and clear, and you can start speaking your truth. Like, how wonderful is that? Doesn't mean you start telling people off. Like, I hope you didn't get that from this. It's just that you start acknowledging that you're worth it, that you have feelings that deserve to be acknowledged, that you have the ability to ask for what you need when you need it, when you want it, so that you can create these whole and beautiful and healthy relationships. And is it easy? Not all the time. And are you going to sometimes go back? Probably. But it's a journey, right? It's a journey. We're processing, we're progressing. It's all we can do, really, is just keep coming to the table and working to advance, to up level. All right, so come up level with me. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, and just release that breath. And take another breath in. And when you let this breath out, just let your shoulders drop. And I want you to come into your heart. So when we go into that heart space and we ask, what's going on in there? What do I need to heal? What do I need to release? How can I release? What is the strongest energy in my heart that causes me to block my truth? Yeah, see if you get an answer from that. What is the strongest energy I have in my heart that causes me to block my truth? So my answer was, I love too much. I care too much, which is disempowering. Loving too much and caring too much is disempowering because you're doing it to others and you're not doing it for yourself. So we'll release that. And then coming into your throat, just ask in your throat, what is the energy that's blocking my throat? What keeps me from speaking my truth? And just see if you get an answer there. So my answer that came up was, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. So there you go. So by protecting other people, protecting other people from what you need to say, you're actually creating more damage in the relationship. So these are the things that need to be released. So coming into your heart, we just call all this beautiful energy away from your heart, anything that's blocking your love. Take a deep breath and release all energies of distrust, release energies of self-hatred, release any blockages to self-love. This is actually coming up from below, so we're doing kind of a full clearing. I can feel it for whoever's out there or for myself. Releasing energies of low self-esteem, low self-confidence, releasing energies that you do not matter, releasing energies of unworthiness, powerlessness, and all energies of fear around sharing your truth. Releasing all the energies in your heart chakra and your throat chakra that have caused caused the energies to block your love, have caused the energies to block your self-love, and releasing all energies in your throat that have caused you to not speak your truth. So any little person energy. So this is little boy energy, little girl energy, anything from your childhood when you were taught that you didn't matter, or that your opinion didn't matter, or that you didn't have inner guidance, or you didn't know better. Yeah, let all that go. So releasing all energies of distrust of your voice, any energies blocking your wisdom and your truth, and releasing all energies from your entire quantum field that have caused you to live in powerlessness. Yeah, release powerlessness, unworthiness, and any blockages to the truth of your inner guidance and the truth of your inner being. Yeah. Releasing that connection and addiction to the shitty committee, to that voice inside your head that is self-critical, that doesn't allow you to be whole and healed. Releasing all self-deprecation, all energies of guilt. Yeah, releasing all the guilt. Releasing all the manipulative energy that you've lived your life from, that you've allowed others to manipulate you. Yeah, really release the guilt. Really release the guilt. We are all living from our own journeys, and we all have to step into this whole place in order to really create joy and love and wholeness. So bringing in that light of wholeness, we just activate the throat, bringing that light all the way down into the heart, allowing you to really activate love all the way into the solar plexus, all the way down into the root. Just feel the light and love and wholeness of who you are. Allow it to wrap around your field, activating this little bubble that really lends to creating the space to listen to your inner guidance and allow you to speak from the love and compassion and trust of your own well-being. So just take a couple of deep breaths. You might have to clear your throat. Sometimes that energy is heavy and it's dense and you need to get it out. So you may need to clear your throat. But that's it. That's your throat chakra clearing. You can do that whenever you feel that your throat is kind of jacked up and you're not speaking your truth. Writing is the strongest form of focus. So if you need to get things out, journaling is a great way to do that. And just, this is all about a journey about really, truly coming into the knowing of who you are and the love of who you are and the wholeness of who you are, so we can bring our whole self to this world. A world that needs us to know who we are, who needs us to stand in our power and create so we can be free, so we can love freely, so we can trust freely, so we can move through life in joy and no longer act from those wounds. We can really become healed and whole. So that is my show for today. If you want some more information on meditating, I've got a little teaching on my website, www.livelifegolden.com. I also have Quantum Speak and Quantum Speak for Parents. They make great Christmas gifts. I got some cute little pictures from my media company with my books and trees, but why not give the gift of manifesting, of teaching someone how to manifest, activating this knowledge within them? There's activation in these shows. There's activations in those books that actually help you remember who you are. And that's what I get really excited about sharing. I got this cute little top on today. I just want to do a little plug. So cute. Let me see if I can dip this down a little. It's kind of like a thermal. It's super warm and beautiful. I got that from Backyard Boutique. I'm going to put her little link in the bottom in the show notes. She is on Facebook and she's out of Kansas and she has like the cutest stuff. So I love supporting small business. I love supporting, this woman's name is Amy Hall. I love just supporting people who are living their passions, who are sharing beautiful things and just making this world a better place, right? Like, let's do that. Let's do that instead of living in anger and resentments. Let's just lend to living our most epic life experiences and sharing it with the people we love so that we can create a beautiful world. So we can all walk around in an uplifted state and have incredible experiences together because we're coming present. Right? We're coming from this moment right here, right now, and we're sharing the best part of ourselves because we're not dragging the past. We're not living in the future where we're worried. We're not in this monkey mind. We're in our hearts. We're speaking from our hearts. We're speaking from our truth. And because of that, we have the ability to create so much more, so much joy, so much wealth, so much abundance, so much love. That's what I'm all about. That's the world I want to live in. That's the world I do live in. Occasionally I step out, but I'm stepping in and I want you to step in with me. All right. I love you guys all. Peace.